auto-relegation spot, but it's huge for Rogue as well, who obviously have to prove that they still have it after falling off the top spot. But we're going to kick things off with the operator ban phase, which, as we know, can be massive in the outcome of a game.
Yeah, if you look way back, Pro League Season 11 and the Nordic Championship, Chaos like the Hibana ban, but we're not going to see that. Maverick instead. They did ban that against Vitality last stage. They also banned that against Granite in the Nordic Championship, so it's not something we've never seen before from them. IQ, now that is an uncommon ban, but I really like this. Oh, Rogue, you are bringing me some juicy stuff. IQ is super powerful on Cafe. The reason being that you can stand on the top floor and you can use that scanner to see literally all of the defensive utility. So any magnets, ADSs, of course no magnets in this particular round, thanks to my ban. Where are the Evil Eyes? Where are the ADSs? Where are the Valcams? Well, no Valcams. But where are any of the electronics? You can see all of it, and you can actually even get Thatcher to EMP it from the roof. So you could basically IGL your entire attack with that IQ on the roof. Add to that the fact that Chaos have Vido, who's a really good IQ player. I think it's a really smart ban from Rogue. And I think it's going to make it so the attacks have a lot harder of a time getting info on what the defensive setup is.
Very different as well from what we saw when these two teams last played each other, which indeed was on Consulate. Obviously not here on Cafe Dostoyevsky, but that time it was a Capitan and a Clash that went down, obviously changing things up. Now, this first round is going to start on Reading Room and Fireplace, a site that has become more and more popular as the primary bomb site for many of the teams at the top tier of Rainbow Six.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
So one thing I find really interesting looking just at the map veto in general and the fact that we ended up on Cafe, funnily enough, Chaos actually quite good on Cafe. They've played it quite a lot recently. In fact, I've docked 5 wins, 1 draw, and 2 losses. Now, admittedly, those 5 wins, a lot of which have actually been in the Nordic Championship against teams like Granite, Ambush, and that's not necessarily as a significant result to boast as if you had defeated a top-tier team. Now, they did manage to draw Vitality in Stage 1. They also lost it to Virtus Pro 5-7. And of course, if you remember that embarrassing 7-1 loss from Chaos against G2 on this very map. So we've seen some highs, we've seen some lows, but the gist of it is that there's a lot of info out there on Chaos playing Cafe. And Rogue, they have a really strong support team with people like Rousty. So I'd like to see that counter-strat coming through. That's not necessarily a counter-strat, that's just a dome taken off. Karzeka hits his shot, and Vito shut down straight out of the gate.
Good night, Vito. And I think that's also huge from Karzeka as well, who is obviously a big support player here for Rogue. You see him on the ace, but he is someone who so far in Stage 2 hasn't been hitting the best statistics. And obviously, the value of a support isn't solely measured in numbers, but it's still nice to get him, or have him getting that nice opener for Rogue in this round.
This is do or die for both teams. Chaos lose this, no chance of getting out of that relegation spot. And Rogue, rather, on the flip side, trying to retain that top floor. They do bite back a little bit. Leon's taken down, but as an IGL, he can just sit back and focus instead on providing the best service to his players. And Rogue, I think, are positioned quite well here. As I mentioned, they've got a lot of info. Oh, no, what is that? There is absolutely no info on renewals. Playing in piano, you should never be allowed to get something like that. A C4 goes out to kill the player and repel, but he doesn't get it. Surely he can burst this player here in Cigar, but no, Rogue push back still. This ace charge is going to expose his position, but Rogue need to make sure they check this corner.
Pushing up very close to the wall here, and he's aware of the presence of a drone. He does miss the shot onto the top of red stairs, and it's going to be Corey getting a kill instead. Renewals does bring down Rips, but he is also injured in the process, and that's going to be finished off by Corey, who now has 2 kills to his name. The shield on the pixel angle still persists, but it's a 2 versus 2 with still a decent chunk of the round left. Cryan playing down below. He's got a C4 as he plays on the Malusi, and that could give him power vertically, but it all depends on where Rogue decide to go next.
I do wonder how much info they've got as well. You can see Corey has lost both of his drones. We don't know how many drones are still remaining on the dead players and whether they're still up in the map watching flanks, but Karzeka critically still has both in the pocket. I'm surprised that a support player this late in the round still has both drones, but that's really impactful here. As the pivotal thing here for Rogue is figure out what ground they can take, figure out where these last two players are, and they're going to start getting this diffuser down because those gases from Secretly can deny the plant in the late round.
Corey is just looking to support Karzeka. He takes some damage in the process, so that's really going to broadcast the position of some of the defenders as he has to run back through the smoke and take even more damage in the process. Smokes, they'll be coming out from Karzeka, but he gets shot straight down, and now the diffuser is going to have to be picked up by Corey, which he does, and he goes in for the plant, but Secretly, he can just sneak on up. He knows where the player is, he gets him, and Chaos Esports Club take round number 1.
Really good stuff there from Chaos, and well, 1 round is a nice buffer to start with. Critically, I think that really came down to renewals in Piano, allowed to get a 2K. Really typically shouldn't happen. Rogue didn't know that he was in there, and he was allowed to get away with 2 kills. As a solo roamer with no backup, no refrag potential, just a mute soloing, allowed to pick up the first one with the SMG-11 and then get close on the breach when Ace opened up the wall to red stairs and use the shotgun to finish things up. Does position Chaos pretty well. Remember, they are playing against a very weakened Rogue at the moment. This is Rogue, at the worst, we've seen them for a very long time. They're back-to-back European champions in Pro League Season 11 and EUL Stage 1. And they came into the EU Major as one of the favorites, ended up petering out without winning any maps. Actually, they did win a map against Virtus Pro, but really, I think they were handed it to them. And since then, they haven't looked too hot at all. They've been playing without aces, of course. Hosty as the replacement, and it's been a pretty crazy Stage 1. In fact, both of these teams are yet to find a win in Stage 2 thus far, where the Chaos actually found a draw against Na'Vi, and that means that, believe it or not, Gio, Chaos have more points in Stage 2 than Rogue do.
Unfortunately, I believe it, but that's really because I looked it up myself earlier on as well. But if I were anyone else, maybe I would struggle to believe it because of how well Rogue have done in the past. And we've said it before, but it really seems that their performance in the Major hit them very hard. They've evidently had to take a step back and reconsider their way of approaching the game. And sometimes you have to bear in mind, you have to get worse to get better if you're making such a substantial change internally. That's something that we can only speculate on, and we're never going to know the full truth of that. We just have to wait and see for the results to come through themselves, but so far that hasn't happened.
Well, I was trying to point out at the start of this game that Rogue now, despite roster issues, they have some really strong support staff that they've brought on this season, and they clearly came into this map prepared. Because of that IQ ban telegraphs to me that they're not only banning a comfort pick on Chaos' side, but also it's going to allow, well, it's going to make it much harder for the attack to IGL their setup. And, well, Vido putting some pressure at Pixel, just spraying things down, but he's holding on for as long as he possibly can, rocking the beautiful Immortal skin here. And, well, Rogue's trying to deal with them, but they've lost a lot of drones. You'll notice Hosty, Leon, and Karzeka completely out of drones. Now Rips as well. Wow, okay. IQ is banned. You can't use them to get information on what gadgets, and now Corey is the only one with a drone left with a minute and a half remaining. That is crazy.
He's going to be looking at it. Not yet shot, but I don't want to jinx it too much as he stands here on the roof, holding the ankle into backstore after sending in the lifelines. And with Vido now present in the washroom, anyone could find themselves getting caught out. Rogue still haven't made much of a substantial push into the site. And actually, this player is next one present on the white stairs. Leon isn't too far away. And this could have some early engagement between the two of them should he decide to look in the window. You can tell the next one, and Secretly as well, are prepared if that is to happen. The Leon's not going to take the risk.
What is the go here from Rogue? Just 45 seconds left. Absolutely no info to be had. All they've got is that single drone from Corey, and, well, they've got to start to make an execute work, but there's still a lot of util on Chaos' side. This is going to get very difficult for them.
Opening things up is Hosties. He gets the kill onto Vito. The second time he's been the first death. Leon adding on. Hostie with a second. Okay, Rogue are now just going to push in, make that a third for Hostie. He showed up so much in their last game, and he shows up in this one. A flawless round for Rogue. Says, we're not going to let you speed ahead of us too much. Their newest player doing bits in this round.
Yeah, that was nuts. Ash just pushes up White and finds about 1 million kills and claws what I thought was an unwinnable round from Rogue back into the realm of possibility and back into a successful position. It really is a highlight to me that a minute and a half down, only one drone left. And like I'd mentioned, info gathering is very challenging on this top floor when you don't have that the IQ, I should say. The IQ can make it much faster. You can spot out where all Malusi's gadgets are, all the Evil Eyes, all the ADSs, and even players who are sitting on cameras. So, for example, if you have your Maestro playing Cocktail or whatever sitting on his Evil Eyes, you can see to him as well. And so it can compensate a little bit. And if you don't have the IQ, you actually have to find all that utility using your drones. Now, what a lot of teams will do to substitute is they're not going to actually count figure out how many ADSs are a pixel. They'll just throw in stun grenades or projectiles until they don't get caught by something, and then they'll use their explosives. And that way you don't necessarily have to drone it. Now, unfortunately, I didn't quite see whether Rogue's strategy was to do the former or the latter, but regardless, they managed to pull off and execute in the late round. I think thanks to some strong aggression and gunplay and awareness in the late round, particularly from Hostie, who's sitting at 4-1 at the moment. But we'll see whether Chaos can right their wrongs on the reattempt.
I think it also helped that, obviously, as you said, they lost a lot of their drones. They had to go for that more manual way of finding information. Obviously, Leon opening up the White Stairs window led him to understand that there were players present there. They were consistently watching that, and he held it as... I was going to say as Vito throws the C4, but he's going to keep me waiting. He held it as Corey opened up the window on the Heaven balcony, and so he was providing that support for him in that moment, but it also gave them some more of an understanding than they otherwise would have had about where those players would be. And Vito's just being very patient here, waiting for anyone to appear on the rappel, but it's not going to get anyone, as no one is indeed there. So instead, he's just going to retreat back to his position on the pixel angle and wait for these players to come in.
Really interesting the way that Secretly is playing aggressively in Piano. Quite an uncommon strategy. I've seen a couple players do this before. I'm not sure how many ADSs he has to protect him, but you'd think that once Rogue drones him out, he's basically a dead man. Now, he can gas on the windows that forces people off the rappel, or at least to play a bit more passively. They can't actively peek it when the gas is there. And he's basically trying to support Vito. Crine is so aggressive as well at top red stairs. Surely Rogue can punish these aggro players and find a few easy kills.
Well, if anyone has to be punished, it's definitely going to be them, as both Crine and Next One have consistently been the two players that sit at the top of the standings for Chaos. But once again, Vito's going to be taken out so early after our MVP of the last round, Hostie, gets that kill onto him, and Secretly is going to have to throw out his second Toxic Babe canister to prevent anyone from pushing in as the wall at the top of red stairs is open. He's got the shotgun ready, but he gets shot himself. What? In fact, he doesn't. It was Corey who went down. That was really confusing. Well, either way, that was a good shot for him.
You're telling me I've got a classic case of Aussie net right now. I'm seeing one frame every few seconds, but, well, Secretly is doing his darndest to keep this in the bag for Chaos. Once again, these power positions in Piano are doing work. Chaos are just running rings around Rogue. And now two players left to pick up the pieces. A nade there is going to make things a bit easier. But you can see Chaos have gotten aggressive on the back of this. Next one's pushed up and trying to hold cigar position. But Leon might be able to stab him in the back.
He's trying to come in for that flank. Just looking for the players, but he's going to take some damage in the process, and that will have alerted them to his position. Finally, Secretly and Next One do fall, and that puts them in a 2 versus 2, but Leon can't close it out as Cryan gets the kill for himself. Now, just he and Renewals have to go up against Rips, who's working on very limited time. Delete the Banshee so that he can move on forward, but he still doesn't entirely know where these players are. He gets shot down and shut down. Chaos take the next round.
Doesn't bode well for Rogue. They're not able to deal with this aggression from Chaos and playing in unusual positions that usually would lead to the attackers picking off these defenders fairly easily. I think Rogue have to go back to the drawing board a little bit, take it slow. Nomad is unbanned. They could be bringing that to try and suppress some aggression. Hell, they could bring a Lion. They could do just about anything. They could sit on the white hallway rappel and cut off any rotations around white hallway, around Pixel. And what's funny is it's kind of hit and miss here. Like, Rogue actually got the first kill, Hosty onto Vito, because Vito was over peaking. But moving after that position, like, Rogue just got caught off guard by, well, Renewals proning it was secretly proning underneath the window and getting a kill with a shotgun. Like, what? That should never happen. If the player on the rappel knows that there's a guy in there, they should 100% be winning that.
I genuinely thought that Corey had got the kill. That's why when I was casting it, I was like, and it doesn't work. And then I was like, wait, hold on, he's still alive. What happened there?
I think that's a story of what has been happening with Chaos. Like, they've just been able to get away with stuff that they shouldn't. And I think that Rogue, maybe take a step back, don't overcomplicate things. If you have like a set plan, that's okay, but put it on hold just to punish Chaos and then get to your set plan afterwards. You'll probably be doing it in a 5v3.
I just want to point out here that the prep phase has only just ended and Rogue have already lost 3 drones.
I don't know what's going on right now. Cafe is actually a map where it's really hard to get your drones in early. 4 drones now, actually, Gio. Look at that. Only Hosty has his prep phase drone still remaining. That is crazy. But Cafe, as I was saying, it's a map where it's actually really quite hard to get your drones inside because you can only get it into that ground floor and you can just watch the staircases and you'll make sure none of the drones get upstairs. But yeah, this is really tough. I think Chaos is allowed to get away with this aggression and playing in these unusual positions because Rogue doesn't have the info. And Rogue are kind of shooting themselves in the foot by losing those drones early. If they're going to try and throw them into windows, they can get shot out. Even if they do have drones, the Vigil's going to counter that. So I'm a bit scared for Rogue.
Yeah, part of me was wondering what's the point in bringing a Vigil if your enemies don't have drones anyway, but crying on the roam is certainly going to be a problem that Rogue can't afford to ignore. And in the last round, we saw the attempt at a flank not work out all too well for Leon. And with next one also on the top floor, you can see that they're kind of tentative. And that's exactly why Leon, the first one to fall, is next one repositions and gets a second. Are they going to funnel in a third? They do, but Rips finally brings down the enemy. But he's lost 2 comrades in the process, and he also knows that there could be someone else around here, as Cryan was also on the roam. Has of course moved downstairs, but does Rips know that?
It looks like Rogue have map control, but again, only 2 drones left. Hosty still has 2 in the field, but only 2 live drones still remaining for Rogue, Karzeka and Rips. They're gonna have to find out these remaining players. That Vigil still running rampant downstairs in the first floor bar. Rips trying to open up this floor, and I think Chaos could even contest these holes if they want to. There's 2 attitudes here. You could either try to just conserve your numbers advantage or contest the holes. And contesting the holes may well work because Rogue don't have a lot of info. But yeah, difficult position now for Rogue to try and reclaim this.
Corey sending in the lifelines as Freezer gets opened up into. And Chaos are just playing very patient. Obviously, Vito present here in VIP, and he's got the shield for protection, but secretly will be the next one to fall as Karzeka claims his life. 3 versus 3 now. And there still is time for Rogue to get aggressive and push on in. It's not something that we haven't seen work before. But Chaos, they look like they could be ready to do it. There's the smoke. Vito's just going to take the shots in, hoping that he catches someone out, but so far he fails in his endeavor. Karzeka opening things up in this next engagement. Rogue just need to get in and make the plant. That's what's going to start happening as Karzeka continues to clean on up. Vito, he was the last hope, but Karzeka on a tear brings him down and secures Rogue the round.
A desperate attempt at the end, Rogue. They had numbers disadvantage going into that execute. They didn't have control of VIP. This is something we're seeing more and more these days on these bottom floor cafe executes. Attackers don't have time to clear VIP when they want to drop into the freezer hatch. And we've seen some teams execute quite successfully. There's just another one on the docket. Rogue, they smoked off the angle to deny that VIP push and then pushing into sight. You notice Rips, he was playing Sledge. He had the diffuser, but he got really aggro early on. He knew that a numbers disadvantage, they needed to make sure that but there wasn't a player sitting around the corner from Coffee in the kitchen, maybe ready to swing him. He had to take that fight first. When there was no one there, he started planting at what, 0.2 seconds on the clock? And he had to put faith in his two teammates to cover him. They did just that. It's been a tough slog here for Rogue, but they've managed to even up 2-2.
You know, what's really nice about it as well is I mentioned that Kajeka's numbers haven't necessarily shown up so much this stage so far. This is really going to give him the boost that he needed. At the end of the last game where Rogue played against BDS, arguably their hardest opponents, so we have to be fair from that perspective, he did go 1-9 overall with a 0.28 rating, which is fairly miserable, especially for a player of his caliber. So at least we know that he's feeling somewhat more on form today. As obviously, we mentioned it before, his role isn't fragger. He's not there to be just this killing machine, but if he can do that at the same time as being support, then that's obviously something nice that Rogue have in their back pocket.
So where's the position to go from for Rogue? They're returning to Reading, or rather Chaos are returning to Reading, which was the very first round that they found victory. It was a late round, 2 versus 2. When Shiro found Renewal, sorry, oh my goodness. The Rens get me confused. BDS and Chaos.
Renewal's not on this team.
No. Renewals found that 2K playing aggro and piano. Vito's going to be the one to do that this time. That's like the third time we've seen a C4 tossed onto that same window. It hasn't found anything. At least we've got more drones up for Rogue this time.
And Vito narrowly escapes, and that's a really difficult position as well to be in. If he wants anyone to pick him up, he's also at risk of being shot or having a projectile sent in on him. Really, his life is probably not going to last very long. Seeing him just drop off the edge as the nade follows him down. Shouldn't laugh, but oh wow. He landed on a table as well. That looks so painful. A disappointing start. He has really not been lucky with these opening engagements.
Yeah, not been lucky, or his aggression has been countered, read into from Rogue. I think he's trying to bite off a little bit more than he can chew, and he was found out. Plus, the more that Chaos plays aggressive, the more Rogue's going to read into it, right? And I think that the later into this defense half we go for Chaos, the more probably Rogue will succeed, and that's what we've seen thus far in the reattempts.
Good kill into Hosty that was from Renewals, especially as Hosty's been showing up and doing so much work for the team. Next one will find himself stunned out, but he's aware of the presence in Cigar and is just looking for those angles. The backstore wall has also been opened, so that's another line of sight the Rogue have onto the defenders, and they're going to use it very much to their advantage as they continue to add to their kill count, leaving just one player left on the defensive side. That's Secretly. Now he's down below. Is he going to be able to do anything from down here? He doesn't have anything like a C4 that other defenders could use to their advantage. He just has to sit and wait for the attackers to move down towards the site as he anchors down, knowing full well they could come from many different angles. He has an idea. He knows the players are here. He's very much outnumbered, and there is this very high chance of a pinch coming in. He can't even get the first kill. Rogue take Reading, and for the first time, make it into the lead.
It's a good sign for Rogue here. They started off a little bit rough, right? Chaos was allowed to get away with playing in unorthodox positions in those early rounds. Time after time, Rogue would lose a lot of drones. I believe at the end of prep phase, Rogue had only lost 1 drone that time. And yeah, some might say that's not good enough, but it's the damn sight better than losing 4 out of your 5. And so Rogue, slow and steady improvements as the round goes on, as the game goes on, I should say. They've had some time to warm up. We'll see whether they can make an impact here on their final attack round. Even if they don't, 3-3 half isn't too bad going into their second half. Since that's their attack anyway, I wouldn't be too unhappy if I'm Rogue right now.
Part of me thinks that a really major part of how Rogue play right now is going to come from the mentality side of things and building momentum off the back of that. As you mentioned, we've seen them play a bit better as the round or as the game has gone on. And part of me wonders if that's because at first they came in a bit shaky. They know what the stakes are for this game. They know how much it means if they lose it. And that's going to be on your mind. But as you actually start to gather those kills, gather the rounds, then you start to believe in yourself a bit more and figure out what it is that's working, and suddenly you're back in the old mindset that took you to the very top of the standings in the last stage.
Attackers must locate and defuse a bomb.
Well, Rogue, it's a big game for them, trying to keep in that top 4, and Chaos trying to dodge that. Remember that we have auto relegation here, right? This is EU, and if you come last, if you come 10th, there is no hope. You don't get to fight for your survival. It's just gone down and out. See you later. Go down to Challenger League and try and fight your way back. Chaos has survived so many seasons. Remember that they would have had to fight through relegations at the end of Season 11 had there been relegations, but we had those 2 extra teams promoted from Challenger League and no teams demoted. So they're counting their lucky stars, and they're not getting so lucky this time around. But, I mean, the game's not over yet. Chaos could very well still even up this half. And looking at the drones, Rip's just lost one, so only one prep phase drone left on Hosty. Funnily enough, that's your entry fragger, probably the one least likely to be live droning, more likely to be setting up those flank watch drones. But overall, the info economy, not as bad as it could be for Rogue. Still could be a lot better, but they've taken some ground now here on Piano.
Yeah, and it looks like Crime was actually making his way upstairs as he popped his gadget, and there's going to be the first trade. Kajeka getting the first kill, but that is taken away swiftly by Vito. Back onto him. So that does mean that the Vigil is cleared out. You don't have that Roma to worry about. And next one, of course, is downstairs. Although, as I say that, he's creeping on up. Maybe looking for a... Okay, he's not going for a late roam. I think he's just watching the hatch for now. He doesn't want to be too overzealous about this decision. In fact, he's going to move back down towards the site, especially as he takes in some gunfire and just seeks a new home in Kochet.
Yeah. And so that's another flank watch drone gone, right? But Leon, thankfully, playing the Nomad, he can just replace that drone with an air jab, and that does give Rogue a bit more flexibility. They can use the rest of their drones for live droning rather than just setting them as flank watch, which, you know, with how much Rogue have struggled with the info economy, I think it's good that they have that Nomad to kind of replace that drone. But, you know, an air jab plus a drone is really ideal. The air jab isn't a hard lock. Players can walk up and shoot it as well. Now the push in from Rogue. Remember, they managed to execute last time. Oh, Vito, he's found another one. But Rogue managed to execute last time even without clearing VIP, so they might not need to clear out Vito here.
Yeah, well, they're going to have to pick up the diffuser, which actually Leon Gids has done. Vito doesn't look like he was protected by the shield as much, or maybe Corey got rid of it, as we did see the lifeline go in, and he's going to collect that kill onto Hosty. Suddenly, Chaos looking significantly stronger this time than they did before. Rips is trying to come down the brown stairs, knowing full well that Vito is present there in VIP. He's going to have to clear it himself if he has any hope, but he doesn't. Chaos do finish things at a 3-3 at the half, and this could still be anyone's game.
Yeah, I think Rogue probably going to be kicking themselves thinking, hey, that was such a winnable round. We really only had about the same amount of ground that we had taken on our previous kitchen attack. We managed to execute that successfully. I think that maybe Corey got a bit ahead of himself trying to take VIP. He was trying to use his Zof utility. Vito just peeked that, bit aggro. Once again, Rogue not prepared to take a gunfight. And, but yeah, regardless, Rogue, 3 rounds on attack. Couldn't get a lot better than that. I think they can't complain too much. They just got to step it up on their defense here.
Yeah, and you know, obviously there is still that chance. Hope is still there. I think one of the most frustrating things for them is obviously going to be this feeling of we shouldn't be this close with Chaos. And that sounds terrible, especially as they drew with them in the last stage. But the point is they've really fallen from grace. Chaos are the team who have everything to lose. They are the team who failed to get any wins. They're still failing to get any wins. Maybe they'll do it today. Maybe this will be the first one for them. But they are in that auto-relegation risk spot. That's not the team Rogue want to lose to.
No. Oh yeah. How embarrassing would it be for Rogue to lose to Chaos here? I mean, they haven't won a single map in EUL since what? Let's go back. Oh my goodness, it's so far back. Since Tempra on round 8 of stage 1. Like, it has been so long. I mean, yeah, they won a few maps in GSA here or there, but it's been such a drought for Rogue. And yeah, you can kind of say the same for Chaos. Like, they actually technically haven't won a map entire of EUL so far, but they've had a heck of a lot of draws, including one just last week to Na'Vi. And, well, a draw is not great. It's only 1 point instead of 3, but it's still a lot better than what Rogue have managed to pull off in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, they're currently sitting on 3 losses right now. Pretty brutal. Leon is very close here.
Oh my god.
He does get the kill, but he's going to have to race back into the building, which he can't do. Renewals finishes him off.
Oh, well, look, at least they managed to knock out the hard bridge. I think Leon's probably going to be pretty happy with that. And again, when your IGL dies, they can focus on comms. And that's never a bad thing. For Leon, it's not like he lost any util. Big contrast for Secretly, who's now lost 3 flashbangs, which are really good for burning those ADSs. And, of course, the hard breach, which is the only hard breach that Chaos have brought to the table.
Yeah, definitely a valuable kill. And that's really how you have to judge trades, is how much value each side get out. And whoever won, great. You're in the beneficial position there. Kajak has got a nice position here in the backstore because he can watch straight onto those windows with the protection of the Vulcan shield. But once again, Hosty taken down by Vito. He did so well back on round 2 and it's been shut down fairly early, quite a bit by Chaos since then.
How Chaos doing on this util clear game? A lot of shields brought for Rogue and the Evil Eyes. There you go, that's one Evil I dealt with, but they can't get rid of the Wub. Can't afford to with the util, so they're going to melee it. Oh, wow. Next one's lucky to be alive. Lucky he wasn't peeked from behind the shield in Freezer. Chaos actually have decent ground. They have numbers advantage. Karzeka needs to be impactful here. He needs to find a kill on the shield. It's one thing to just hold it, but if he can deny Piano completely and actually frag out any players that try to peek on through, that's huge.
Those are the potential opportunities, but he's not going to take it as next one comes swinging straight in. And now he can just push up on the bar, knowing full well these players are here, but Rips, he gets taken down brutally by Vito, who's decided to show up now. Chaos. Good round from them on their attacking side.
This is a big deal, Gio. This is the first time Chaos have been looking like they could win a map in EUL in just about forever. I mean, yeah, they got real close against a reforming Na'Vi on Clubhouse, 6-6 last week. And they had some tight games in EUL. In fact, they had 5 draws in stage 1, right? But they weren't able to close out any. Are we feeling that infamous Chaos draw in this map? I think it's a possibility, but at the same time, Chaos are very much in control. They looked in control of their defense, and Rogue were the ones fighting from behind, managed to scrape out a few rounds. Chaos, they've started their attack strong, and I don't think they're going to let Rogue get back into this game.
That is the fear. It's definitely the fear for Rogue. They're going to be coming down to reading now. And they just... You know, it looked like so much of their setup on that last round was pretty good. We were talking about how Karjeka could have been massively influential in being able to deny the piano control, but ultimately, when next one can just swing straight round and push directly up in the bar with support from, I believe it was Vito who was coming up with him, then suddenly you've got the kind of pressure onto the player in Cocktail that he can't necessarily deal with all on his own. Makes it very, very difficult. And, you know, are those issues that they're going to be facing continuing going forward in these rounds? Because if they are, there's a problem.
Yeah, Rogue really just found it hard to even just hold their positions. Oh, that's a nice one. Leon, another spawn peek. Rogue's actually positioned really well now. Not only are they in a 5v4 and secretly second early death in a row, to Leon no less, no hard breach. Makes Chaos's options really limited here. But on top of that, I really like the setup we've got from Rogue. They've got a lot of verticality prepared. We can see a lot of holes in the floor near that double door. They've even blown out the bar on the northwest side, which makes it really hard for attackers to take cover. And typically what you see is the attack starts from this top floor west side, clears out the Cocktail presence gradually. They're going to have to deal with C4s. The floor will basically be lava and those holes in the floor. And all the while, Rogue can just back off. They've got 3 players up top right now. It's going to be such a headache for Chaos to take control. I don't think they're going to make it happen.
Yeah, you say that, but you never know what can happen in this game so far. At least that's what I feel like I'm learning. And straight away, you can see one of the players has pinged where someone on Rogue is. But in fact, it's going to be Corey getting the opening kill as a frag shortly follows in to bring Leon down. Next one didn't quite get the shot that he was looking for, but he just tosses in his drone, and that's going to give him the support that he needs for now. Vito opening up the washroom wall as Hosty's just ready and waiting at Lumber, just for anyone who might come in from Piano.
Remember, this is just 2 1v1s at the moment being prepared. Nate about to go over. Hosty survives that one. It's a miss. And Rip's still upstairs as well. Rips could drop at any point he sees fit. And, well, Hosty as well. How long can Chaos hold on? That's a nice shot, and he's going to push on the back of it as well. Hosty being a headache, uncontrollable. But he needs to make sure not to get refragged. Elsewhere, though, Chaos find 1. Only 2 players left for their side. Make that just 1. And it looks like Rogue may be able to tie this up unless Nest 1 could pull something out of nowhere.
Well, Diffuser's been dropped, so he's going to have to go in for the kills unless he makes his way back upstairs, but he can't make his way really anywhere. Hosty cleaning things up. It was good control from Rogue, I think, because even when those players from Chaos decided they were going to start moving down, you still had the presence of the 2 SAS operators downstairs. Now, I think it was Kajeka and I want to say Rips, but I could be wrong there. But either way, it was a mutant smoke. They were still holding on to the site, as well as having this presence upstairs that hadn't fully been dealt with. That's how Hosty was able to get that kill onto the player that was in washroom. That's what made it such a pressurizing situation at the end. Made it very hard for Chaos to be able to push through.
I think if Leon doesn't find that spawn peak, that attack is just so much easier for Chaos. Having that Hibana alive means that, and they had Thatcher as well, right? Thatcher's not been banned. You can EMP the wall at from Freezer to Cocktail. A lot of people have different names. I call it Tarps. And then Hibana that open. You know, there's basically no counter from Rogue if you got the Thatcher and the Hibana, and that displaces not only Hosty's position at Tarps itself, but also the player at Cocktail. And if anyone from Rogue doesn't drop downstairs, then, well, they're going to be trapped up there. I think that impactful kill from Leon right at the start, that spawn peak onto Secretly, really dictated the pace of the rest of the round. And Secretly has been the opening pick both of these attacks so far. Really needs to be careful about those spawn peaks, about those aggressive runouts.
I mean, I have to say one of the really disappointing things for Secretly about that scenario was that he took a bunch of damage, retreated, and then went back into it to his death.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
you knew, man.
Rogue...
You knew.
Yeah, well, very extended hold here for Rogue. They've got a lot of roam set up. They've actually got a lot of reinforcements upstairs as well. Unusual to reinforce those top floor hatches on this basement defense, but, well, I think Rogue are trying to take advantage of Chaos being maybe a little bit miscoordinated here. We'll see how separate some of these players are. Next one, just droning himself in. Bottom brown stairs, sets that up. Actually gets in really early. It looks like Chaos just going for the first floor, not dwelling too much on a full roam clear, and I think that might be the right choice here.
Maybe so, if they decide they're going to commit to the aggression, but obviously if they give Rogue the time they need to actually hunt out these players who are coming in, they could find themselves getting caught out. Corey's decided to not really move much of a muscle as he was present in Kochek at the beginning. Nearly received some incoming fire at the start that narrowly missed him. Next one too is struggling to move forward. Crying as well. So you say they can forego this roam clear, but they're not having much of an easy time to push forward.
Trying to trap these players, Crying trying to push, and then Corey goes down. Eventually, Renewals also finds one. That's Hosty, who is roaming above. Chaos have done a really good job at bypassing this roam by watching their flanks and making sure those roamers can't rotate down to site while pressuring these players and gradually getting more map control on the top of the ground floor. Now, there's only one player on the bottom floor remaining, and it's Leon. the sole player to hold down the bomb site. Rips, though, he can deny the entry through Freezer, and, well, Leon denies an entry of his own through the double door into Kitchen. Karzeka was also above. Leon's been droned multiple times. How much can Chaos do here to capitalize on the absence? And there you go. Krine goes straight on inside, finds his second. They don't know that he's alone on the bomb side, and they've also taken out the player who was flanking all on Karzeka now in a 1 versus 4 retake.
Yeah, and obviously Karzeka isn't on the site, so he's going to struggle here, and he totally misses out the fact that Vito was just down the corridor. Chaos don't even need to get the plant down as they take the next round for themselves.
I really, really like that from Chaos. I was kind of talking about it that whole round. The way they decided to basically bypass that heavy roam that Rogue brought to the table, instead of trying to go for what you would typically see, which is, all right, guys, let's start on the roof, take control of the 3rd floor, take control of the 2nd floor, and then eventually start getting Vert on the ground floor and begin to execute. By which time, probably Chaos would have wasted a lot of their time, a lot of their resources, and maybe even a couple players. Rogue wanted them to go for that kind of take, and Chaos instead said, look, let's just watch these flanks, make sure that these roamers can't get back to site and have an impact, and gradually take control piece by piece of the ground floor. Firstly, it was, I believe, Corey, I think, was playing in coach check, took out Corey. Focus on that. First things first. And then you're still watching your flanks. Eventually, it gets to the point where there's only one guy on site. You drone out, you find that out, just enter, kill Leon. Site's yours, and all of these roamers are going to be desperate trying to get back to site.
I think it's a really important thing to note that, because it's often spoken about the fact that there is a difference between playing your own game and playing against your opponent's game. And in that instance, what we saw from Chaos was them playing their own game. They stuck to their guns, they stuck to what it was they wanted to do, and eventually what that forces Rogue into doing is having to somewhat counter the play that is coming out from the attackers. Suddenly, the way you've set up your defense is no longer quite as important because you are now countering the attackers, and that can throw you through all sorts of loops, and it certainly did in that last round. So if Chaos continue that and can keep this up, they could find themselves well on their way to a win, as they are just 1 round off of match point.
Well, they are currently sitting 1 round off of draw point, which is very, very common for Chaos, eh? I remember that Leon, the first 2 rounds of their half, actually managed to spawn peek secretly 2 rounds in a row. You can see he's, again, looking to make aggressive plays, looking for drones at the moment to see if anyone's aware of his presence in pillars. But Chaos very focused on piano as step number 1. Corey there. Hosty as well, actually, is the good old double shield strategy, the one that I've talked about a little bit before here on broadcast. First saw this in Oceania, a team called Akami like to do this with the Alibi, in fact. First shield gone, but Hosty still has that strong position from inside of washrooms. Corey takes a lot of damage and is pushed back, but Hosty's still here and can impact into piano, but Leon goes down as the first pick.
Yeah, removal of Leon, we spoke about how his aggression has really facilitated a lot of Rogue's play in the last few rounds, and that will no longer be an option. In comes the nade, but it doesn't actually get the shield as the Prisma says goodbye. Obviously, you have to remember that Karzeka is also present in the backstore, just like last time they came to this site, and he's very much shielded by, well, the shield, I guess, which Chaos have pinged out for themselves, knowing that's very much a target.
Yeah, this is really good positioning though for Chaos, and Krine should be able to deal with that shield in Freezer indeed. And Karzeka, as that is a Vulcan, he's actually pushed off that position as well, as the fire would have claimed his life should he had stayed there. Chaos have done some really good droning. The drone work from Chaos has just been so much better than Rogue. You can see all the info they got on site. Renewals has just placed his down in pillars now for someone to watch. And they have man advantage. They have great map control for this execute. But Hosty's still in a power position. He has this long angle from inside washrooms if someone enters. But Karzeka goes down first. This is the execute from Chaos, but just about everything is working in their side.
Yeah, not the miss that Hosty wanted, as now Chaos are just continuing to clean things up with just 1 player left remaining on Rogue. That's Rips once again. We've seen this happen before. Chaos have a flawless round and push themselves to the match point. I'm not going to call it draw point because I'm not me.
Could this be the very first map win for Chaos in the entire of the EUL? Stage 1. 5 draws, 0 victories. Stage 2, 1 draw, 2 losses, 0 victories. Chaos are on the cusp of making history for their team. They've made significant roster changes coming into this season. People were like, well, why are you bringing Secretly back? He was removed from this roster not that long ago to try and spice things up. You lost players like Shate, a lot of firepower there. You've brought on Next One, who's relatively unproven player. And look, it hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows for Chaos, but I think they've looked a bit better this season. Took more rounds off BDS than they did last stage anyhow. And now they look like they might be able to take down Rogue. Admittedly, a very out of form Rogue, but a victory here is the first step on the path out of relegation. It's currently sitting on 6 points behind Tempra at 12 points. It's impossible for Chaos to get out of this auto-relegation spot with only draws. A win here puts them in a great position, but then they need to hope that Tempra lose. Tempra or Empire, right? And then they need to get more wins, get themselves out of that relegation spot. It's possible. Not likely, but it's possible.
I like how your metric for how much a team's improved is how many rounds have they taken off of BDS. But, I mean, the thing with that is the answer for Rogue was they took 2 rounds off of BDS, which is not a scoreline to be bragging about, and that's the total opposite of what Chaos are going to be doing if they win this next round. They've been looking for that win, like you say, and to do it against the ex-top team, the team that everybody feared, they were so venerated. If you can put the final nail in their coffin, that's a huge thing to do. That's bragging rights there for Chaos. It doesn't matter if it's their first win. They'll have double reason to be happy, and it could all happen on this round. So they're obviously going to be very careful, very cautious. You mentioned they've got good drone game. That's how they're going to start things off. Once again, they'll have roamers to deal with on the top floor from Rogue as they head into this reading attack.
So much on the line here for Rogue. It's been such a poor stage for them, and it's not a good way to start it. Secretly gets on the scoreboard, takes down that replacement of Hosty, and I think Rogue are getting a little bit desperate. It's only a matter of time before this attack starts to make things work, and that's another pick. 5 versus 3 on match point for Chaos. This could be it.
Definitely a good pick there for Vido as he took so much damage in the first place, but Leon's going to finish it up. Now, he's also on very low health. This is a huge risk, and Next One is going to close it out. This is a 4 versus 2 situation. Just Corey and Kajeka remaining. They certainly could do it, and they're starting their way there as Kajeka gets the kill onto Next One, but it's going to be turned around. He is now suddenly the only one left on Rogue, and he can't do it. Chaos! They get their first win in the EU League. They do it against Rogue, who came first at the top of the last stage. The win they've been looking for so long, and it's finally theirs. I can hear the tears of Fresh just dripping all over his desk. Chaos Esports Club.
Wow. I guess it's just happened. Chaos have found their first victory of EUL against, as you said,